Well, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're enjoying COABE. My name is Tad Wamister. I'm with Engine, and we are sponsoring this session and other sessions, especially in the career pathway track. If you hadn't had the opportunity to stop by the Engine booth, you should. Engine is a platform for contextualized ESL to support learners who are trying to transition into IETs or apprenticeships, where it's excellent content for workplace literacy programs, as well as we have specialized content for internationally trained professionals, which is something I'm going to be talking about tomorrow afternoon. We are proud to partner with Dallas College. We are being used to support their English learners who are transitioning into career and credential program, as well as their work with internationally trained professionals. So again, I would love to invite you to stop by the Engine booth at some time over COABE. We're booth number 1. And April, have a wonderful session.
Can I borrow your clicker? Because this one doesn't seem to be working.
Yes. Strategic pause.
Right here. Canva. That makes a difference. It's okay.
Again, enjoy today's session. And thanks for stopping by. It's a packed house.
Yep, that's 4.6. All right. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you all so much for joining me for this session for the Beyond the Classroom, where we're going to be talking about holistic retention strategies for our adult education students. My name is April Owens. I'm the Senior Director of Workforce at Dallas College. You can go to the... Oh. All right. You can go to the next slide. If it doesn't want to... Tech issues. Yep, just back up arrow. Okay. All right, so what we're going to talk about today is I'll give you a very brief overview of Dallas College so you can get an idea of how these strategies relate to you and if they're applicable to you and how they work for our institution to really see and understand if there's something that you can take with you back home to your institution. And then I'll talk a little bit about the WorkReadyU program, also known as our adult education literacy program that we've just branded as WorkReadyU. And then we'll go right into our holistic strategies and the impact of those. You can go to the next slide. Before we get started, I want to get an idea of who's in the room. So raise your hand if you're coming from a community college. Okay, all right. Raise your hand if you're coming from a workforce board. Okay, our nonprofit, other nonprofits. Okay, any universities? Awesome. Okay, tech school. Okay, awesome. Anyone else I've missed? K-12, awesome. Adult ed, okay, awesome. Thank you all so much for being here. So we got a nice mixture of different people in the room. So what I hope that when I was designing this, what you get out of it is to identify some of those key barriers to adult learner retention. I really don't need to tell you what those things are. I know you know what those things are, but we'll hone in on a couple and focus and make sure that we all have an understanding of what those things are, because there are people in the room that might be new to the field, so they have an understanding of what those things are. And then we'll talk about some of those holistic support strategies that Dallas College is using. And I want this to be a conversation. So if you have a comment or a thought, you're welcome to raise your hand, and so that we can have a dialogue throughout this session. And then we'll talk about how to apply some of these collaborative approaches to enhance retention for where you're coming from and how we've been able to do some of those things. And I'm happy to share what things have not worked for us, so you know before going in and implementing some of those things what to keep an eye out for. Okay. All right, so we talked already about who's in the room. Go to the next one. I love Canva, but it's not loving me back today. It's usually pretty great, but it's okay. All right, so who's new to Dallas, Texas? First time visiting? Awesome. Welcome to Dallas. You came at a great time where it's not like we're not all melting. So it doesn't always look like this. Make sure if you're wanting to visit again, you think about this time of the year because it's a great time. Don't come and visit us during the summer because you will melt like ice. Um, at Dallas College back in 2020, we merged from 7 independent institutions into one with 7 main campuses. In addition to that, we have over 14 community centers that are embedded within the community. In fact, we just opened up a location that's embedded within a mall, so students can shop and then come by and see us and learn about what workforce programs we have to offer. At Dallas College, we have the AEL grant, the Adult Education Literacy Grant, and we've rebranded that to be called our WorkReadyU program. So our students know that by name. They love it. Sometimes they claim it and they're not actually a student of the program, which causes problems for us. But that branding was really helpful for them in being able to say and be proud that they're a student of the program. Let's see. Let's go all the way back. And that was the presentation. Hopefully you got what you needed. Dallas College is a very large institution. We have over 100,000 students that we're serving every year. 100,000 of those are credit, and then about 30,000 are our non-credit students that fall under our CE. Then when you drill down even more, our adult learners in the AEL program. We offer associate's degree. We offer at the moment about 4 bachelor's degree, and that continues to grow and scare some of our 4-year institutions. We offer certificates in both credit CE and then skills awards in both credit and CE. Here's our racial makeup of Dallas College, where you can see where we are serving a large number of underserved students. And we have just not that long ago received the designation of an HSI institution. For our WorkReadyU program, all of you, if you raise your hand, if you have the AEL grant or something similar, okay? All right, just really quickly, this is the information that we share with our students when they're coming in to learn about what we have to offer. We offer those English as a second language courses, HSC, high school equivalency program, and then our career fast track training programs where we're really the institution's already providing that, but we're providing the funding for it through the program. We serve various populations, not just the ones that are coming off the street to us individually, but also our internationally trained professionals, our students that are currently incarcerated. So we are in some of the prisons in Texas, in the Dallas area. Our students that have been recently released in our Second Chance program. We partner with different and various employer partners, and then a couple of several community-based organizations that are looking to support their clients in their nonprofit. This is one of the strategies that I'll talk a little bit about later is raise your hand if you're a visual learner. Okay. It's very helpful for students to be able to, and this is just where we're starting. We just developed this past fall, and we're continuing to try to create a visual for students so they can see what their pathway is. But we want them to know when they first come in to see us, that first stop is ESL. Do we have that under your belt? Are you at the level of English language proficiency to continue and do well in your job? And then once they're able to pass this point where they've done beginner, intermediate, advanced, we want them to move up. And each level that they move up, we want them to visually see that they're at the place where they're getting that more and more livable wage and increasing the social economic mobility there. They go on to high school equivalency. From there are IETs, and I'll be honest, PJ, one of our workforce board members is in the back, can attest. This is the area where we're working on. We're working on getting our ESL and HSC students to transition into our career training program. So that is where we're experiencing a great challenge in getting them to that over that hump of saying, okay, now I'm ready to move into that fast track career training program and get a certificate. From there, we want them to continue on in certificate programs and then eventually consider their associates because they're already a Dallas College student. So we're hoping that for them, it feels like an easy transition to go right into that associate's degree and then eventually onto that bachelor's degree. They can stay with us for that, or they can transfer over to a four-year institution nearby. So you all already know why this matters and why this is important. I know in some of this I'm preaching to the choir, but this is important to have these visuals and this data, because when you're talking to donors, to your executive leadership, you want to be able to provide them with data points on why you're doing the work that you're doing and be able to have that, because we're helpers, right? So a lot of times we go with how we feel, what we're experiencing, what we're doing, and we're telling those stories. And those success stories are important. Those are vital. But we also need to back it up with data to be able to showcase why the work that we're doing matters and why it's important. So what I tell the Dallas College community that's not working on with adult education learners, because a lot of times they're not understanding the value that we're bringing to the table. They're thinking, oh, non-credit CE adult learners, they're doing basket weaving, they're swimming, they're yoga. No, actually, we're building the workforce. You're welcome. So this is the area where we exist here, below high school diploma. And these are just a couple of our community centers that we're serving. And you can see there's a big demand. The work that we're doing is so important because we're helping them not only get to that livable wage of that 45,000 that they happen to be under because they don't yet even have a high school equivalency, but we're also providing the opportunity for them to have the skills so that they can get that job and continue to have that strong workforce, not just nationally, but the Texas workforce has really been hit pretty hard. So we're really charged with such a tall order to be able to do that. Okay, all right, we got all that stuff out of the way. Any questions about Dallas College, our general WorkReadyU AEL program that we offer? Yes. There are others, but we are a large provider. We're the best provider. Sorry, any other Texas people in the room, but that's what we like to think. Okay, so for holistic retention strategies, I want to get an idea from you all. What are the most significant barriers that you feel like your students are facing that impact their engagement and retention in their programs? You can just shout them out. Childcare, transportation, flexible scheduling, work and family, health, stigmas around any particular area?
Their peers may think about them turning, being older, turning to school.
No, that's a really good one. Lack of maturity. Okay. Motivation. Okay. Jobs. Oh, that's a big one. Trauma. Study strategies. Okay. Access. Okay. Yeah. Mental health. Big one. Okay. You all brought up some great ones. The list can go on and on, right? So I won't be able to cover all of those because those are some really good ones. I need to create some more sessions next time around and we could tackle even more. Go to the next slide. I broke them down into probably the big four that's gonna, the strategies that I'm gonna talk about, where we really try to focus in on these big four here, where students are balancing multiple roles. They're parents themselves, they have dependents, they are students, of course, they are employees, they may have more than one job that they're juggling just to try to provide. They may have parents that they're caring for. Some of our students are in the sandwich generation. They may have dependents that are not their children, but they're still caring for, like nieces, nephews, people living in the home that they're taking care of. The list goes on and on for the multiple hats that our students wear that's very different than a traditional or credit student is wearing. Financial constraints. A lot of us are here because we're providing that funding for our students within our program, or at least we try to make sure it's zero to low cost, no cost for our students, but they don't get that federal aid that students are getting to provide for their programs and pay for their programs. So that financial constraint with not just the program cost, but what they're dealing with also in life too. That at any moment, something could tip them over the edge financially. Digital literacy and access. How many of you are dealing with students that are like, wait, how do I exit out of this screen? Or let me look up what my phone number is on my phone. Let me call you to tell you so you can see what my number is. So we're dealing sometimes with students that are really navigating a space that's so unfamiliar to them, and we've created a lot of work around them needing to have that digital literacy, and they don't yet have it or even have access to those tools. And then lastly, hesitancy to seek help. So there may be stigma around not just them being in a program like this, but hesitancy to seek out some of the service we've even just told them is available to them. Okay. All right, so those are the big four that we're gonna focus on. The first thing, and someone mentioned it over here, is flexible options. This is one of the strategies that we really try to become strong on at Dallas College, in that with our locations, and I know that not everything that we talk about as a part of the strategies are something you'll be able to go home and do, right? You won't be able to just say, we need to go buy a building or we need to open up a location here or there. But thinking about those things and just keeping them top of mind, because you never know what pops up where you might not buy a space, but you may be offered to be in a space, or you may ask to have a pop-up location somewhere where your students are to better serve them. So we have many different campuses. And we have a growing number of community centers that, again, are embedded within the community. We offer application support sessions to really get at our students that are having that low digital literacy. We have at every location at least one day of the week that we're offering all-day sessions or half-day sessions where we're supporting students in completing their application, including a virtual option, at least once a week. For our classes, we offer those classes on a hybrid, weekend, self-paced options, virtual and online. Okay, so we're really trying to get at our students wearing those multiple hats. Sometimes they're not able to come on campus, so an online option might be best for them. A lot of our ESL students don't want to do an online option. They want to be in person, and that's a lot better, right? That's more of a best practice when you're learning a new language, to have that community. So of course we have in-person options. We also have self-paced options for students. When they're in their career training programs, they're also able to pop into their support classes at the time that they're able to, just as long as we let them know you have to get so many hours, but it's self-paced for them. So I have this visual on this side of the screen just so you can see. I myself was spending the weekend trying to think, how can I create this heat map for our leadership and for our team to understand where our students are coming from? So we're not just going, I'm a very instinctual person where I'm like, I feel like this, but not everybody can operate off of that. Our instructional design team can't operate off of how I feel about what classes need to be offered where, but I can provide a visual for them. So I got with our data team in the institution, our labor market intelligence data team, and found out that they had a software available to us called ArcGIS, but there's a lot of other software tools out there. If you have maybe Salesforce, that's something you might want to tap into to see what connectors can be done with Salesforce. But all of our student interests that come in go onto this heat map. We can toggle between what they're interested in, what's their age, what location they're coming from, and it's available to our instructional design team so that they can make programming in classes based off of the demand that's coming in. So students already have that, not just the pathway what they want, but they have a pathway that they know at that location is going to work for them. Now, it hasn't been perfect. We just implemented this at the end of last fall, but being able to have this available to our team has been very transformative. Any questions about flexible options? Yes.
Services that meet the interests of the people who live there.
Right. Sometimes what happens is we might say, because we're all over Dallas County, and we have, again, 7 main campuses, so we try to make sure our classes are there, but that covers a wide spread. I mean, Texas is huge, so trying to have all those classes all over the place is quite challenging. But if we can say, okay, there's a huge demand, a huge cluster of students in the southern part of Dallas. So we want to make sure we're offering our beginner ESL classes more down there. And then we build out the entire program so that we can bulk register students for that beginner, intermediate, advanced, because we know they're coming in. Because over the last week, we've had an increase in 2,000 students coming in to that location. Does that give you some more clarity? Okay. All right. Okay, this is a big one. Most of the things that you all mentioned are probably see on a daily basis is a need for basic needs resources for our students, and we can never have enough. But I can say at Dallas College, we have so much that even for myself, it can be overwhelming. So prior to becoming a senior director of workforce, I was a director of student care coordination, helping our students, triaging them to the different resources that they need, managing any crises that might have come up and bringing them down on that risk rubric, if any of you are familiar with NABITA and that work. We have an entire care network of individuals that are dedicated to supporting students around their basic needs. And they are based on providing that case management experience for them around navigating all the resources at the institution as well as the community. So some of the things that are really big, again, would be transportation, as you all mentioned. So as long as students are enrolled in a class and they have a certain amount of hours, they can get a bus pass. We went back because that's not enough. We went back and asked our institution for additional funding, and we were able to secure lift codes that we can give to students on an emergency basis if they're experiencing a crisis or a situation need to get out of quickly. We want to help and make sure that they have the transportation to move and be able to do that. We have food pantries at every location, and something I'm very proud of, the collaboration we have with that team. They started to move into now our community centers. So at our community centers, we now have food pantries, and if we don't have space for food pantry, we have a cupboard. So a little closet area or area where students can go and pick up snacks so that they can fill their tummy, right? So that they're not in class hungry. It's not a full-fledged food pantry, but it is something, and it's better than nothing at all. And that partnership is done with the North Texas Food Bank, and they provide us with with those supplies. In addition to the food pantries, we offer mobile food drives at the various locations, so the students and the community can benefit from that. And then we have community days where people in the community can come in and shop and get groceries, even if they're not a student, which has been a great recruitment tool for Dallas College. We have counseling services, free counseling services that are available to our students. If they start to, because of these basic needs, experience mental health, they can do that. But if it's getting to a place where it has escalated and it's caused other issues, we do have a behavior intervention team that will come in and apply that holistic approach, that social justice approach, to try to get them some of these resources before it becomes something else. Okay, so along with knowing these strategies, some of the ways that we've tried to incorporate this is making sure that we're taking the services to our students. So Karen here is one of our engagement coordinators, and they've been charged to do classroom visits. We started off with going to the classrooms at the beginning, the middle, and the end. And at those sessions, they're giving presentations reminding students of the resources that they have available to them and encouraging them to seek those services out. And because it's being done in the classroom with everyone in the room, it normalizes that conversation around the need for resources. We don't want people to feel singled out because we pulled them to the side and we notice there's a need. We want to make sure that everyone is getting that information so students know when they're ready that it's available to them. We've also worked with the institution to have them included on the syllabus that these services are available to them. So if that's not something you haven't done, I would encourage considering that, working with your instructors to include basic needs resources or whatever resource you have within your organization to put that on there, especially those big ones that you see often. Let's see if there's anything else. I put down here a QR code at the bottom. If you're interested in seeing what the referral looks like, we do utilize Maxient for that. What the referral in the web page looks like for Dallas College around the basic needs resources, you can look at that. It is a website that anybody can the link for it, you'll have to click on Care Referral Form, but anybody can access that. Oftentimes what we do, especially at community colleges and four-year institutions, we make it difficult for students to get to it because we put it within the LMS or whatever teaching tool we're using. They have to go through, do the two-factor authentication, verification just to get to it. And they're not even checking their school emails, let alone doing all of that. But if we make some of the access low barrier, especially for our students that are low on digital literacy, then that helps them better access those resources and tools. Okay. All right. Can you go back one thing I want to point out? At some of our locations, our community centers that are newer and we have a lot of space, we've invited some nonprofits to come in and have actual office space in the center. So we have a housing CBO that we work with, a nonprofit. We've given them space to come and have 2 days a week so that they can come and work with our students. Our students can go and see them. They know when they're available. So that's something to think about if you have the privilege to be able to do, to invite those individuals in or ask other people, hey, can we have a pop-up session at such and such place where your students are frequenting to be able to provide them with support. Okay, you can go to the next one. So want to give you an idea of the impact of the work that's been done through this team and at Dallas College. This is 23 to 24. So over 89,000 visits to the food pantry with 360,000 pounds of food being given out. We've had over 6,000 care referrals come in that are unduplicated. So each individual student saying, hey, I need transportation. Hey, I need housing. I need emergency aid. With the emergency aid, we've given over 1.6 million to students. They have the opportunity to get about $500 maximum for that emergency aid, and over 9,000 visits to our clothing closet. And our partners have done a great job in increasing professional wear in our clothing closets. So that's been a big deal for our students to be able to go and shop for that. Any questions about those two areas, the flexible options, the student services that I can point out? Okay, what things have you all done that I didn't mention that you're finding work for you? What support services? Fuel cards, no, that's a good one. Awesome. Yes. Yeah. We do have some areas in Dallas that are a bit more rural, so they've utilized the emergency aid to help meet that need. but knowing what your community is, and what they need and what you don't have and trying to meet that is crucial. No, no, yeah. It's something, yes. Okay. That's great. That's awesome. One in the back?
But not much more college for sure, but we have been able to get grants from our foundation within the college to pay for the
Daycare.
that we don't run, but we pay for that. And the classes were moved to that location, so the daycare is next to the classes. But the
Awesome.
foundation comes from money that comes from everybody that pays everyone.
Okay. Wow.
So understanding that there are limitations to money and to money
Yes.
allows us to think out of the box in terms of what else can be done.
Yeah.
Childcare has been a huge barrier in communities.
Yes.
And so again, thinking about how our generosity, how far can it go? So though, again, everybody is allowed to give a percentage of their check every month,
Mm-hmm.
and the foundation decides to down.
Yeah.
Because we don't have any grants available for that. And a huge amount of folks that go to our ESL classes don't have access to benefits from the state. And so again, it's thinking out of the box, what else can we do?
Yes.
And we truly have the support in the community, having satellite or community sites that we have partnered up with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we were able to have our classes around the city, although we're a small part. So it's not about the size, but it's about understanding the richness of your community.
Yes.
Unique for everybody.
For everyone. Yes. That's awesome. Did everybody hear that? What they've done? That's amazing. Kudos to you all for doing that. That I didn't mention the child care piece, but that is huge, right? We have a lot of times there's more women pursuing an education than anything else. And then when we think about our ESL populations, I tell everyone, you can get the mom to come, you get the whole family. Sometimes that's a challenge because they will really all come and they think that they're students because mom has done everything. I'm like, you still have to do everything too. Like you have still have to fill out an application. But being able to have that child care for our students is important. We teamed up with I don't want to say Jeff Bezos like we know him personally, but we have the Bezos Academy on some of our locations around Dallas College where we can provide that. I love that you all took it up to another level and made sure that those classes are around the child care center that you have. But our centers are limited to just a couple of campuses. So we've partnered with CBOs or nonprofits that offer it and that will pay for childcare, just kind of like what you all are doing. And so that's something to keep in mind is I hope that you all don't walk away from this thinking you are, need to go up this huge mountain and take on the world. What we've tried to do with the AEL grant at the institution is leverage what's already existing, either in this institution or outside. So we have community partners that pay for childcare. So we send students to them when we can't get them in our childcare academies on the campus. Okay, we're going to shift gears a little bit. At Dallas College, we have a learner care model, and that is where we have success coaches, also known as advisors, that have really transformed into just general advisors that help students figure out their pathway or program, but take it up another step and want them to be successful throughout their entire journey. So they're responsible for helping the student access all the other resources and keep up with what they're doing and how they're doing that. So some of the things that we've incorporated in working with our success coaches is ensuring that our students are completing a goal sheet at the time of application. We want to know, why are you here? What do you want to accomplish? What's your time frame for accomplishing that? And that allows us to capture that information and continue to develop that with the student throughout their journey with us. But we want to make sure we're getting that at the front end to be able to do that. Those success coaches also are available for one-on-one coaching and creating success plans with students. They offer modalities for in-person and virtual coaching, and they're oftentimes at every campus available until 7 p.m. One person's on campus to be able to serve those students that are just getting off of work and coming to class for evening session. And something that we do that is a huge, I won't make this sound like it's simple, a huge undertaking is when our students come in, we're applying a braided funded approach in the background of we're trying to make sure that whatever class they're taking, they're not paying for it. We're thinking about all the ways we can pay for it. What are all other grants that we can add and stack on top of each other to ensure that the students are receiving the class and the programming that they want at no cost. So in addition to the AEL grant, we're like, okay, they qualify for PepsiCo, they qualify for this, or they don't qualify for AEL at all. We have to think of, can we give them the Texas, the TPEG application and have them complete that? So we're in the background doing a lot of work, stacking up different funding sources for our students. We do utilize Salesforce to help us with that process, but it is still a working process. So I won't say it like it's an easy thing, but that's another holistic approach that we try to take to ensure that our students are not having that additional financial burden. So for our success coaches, it can vary, but right now we have C success coaches that have anywhere from over 1,000 students on their caseload. So it's a very large institution. Karen is one of our engagement coordinators specific to the AEL grant, and she's at our North Lake campus. And I think, Karen, you have about how many classes at North Lake? 6. And Tom's at about 25 is the cap for our classes. That's her caseload. And she's specific to working with our AEL students. So it gets a little bit. So on a large institution level, we have C success coaches that can have a caseload of about 1,000 and then 1,000. We have one navigator per camp, 7. Sorry, 7. I won't make you do that math. Yes, career navigators. And who's good at math? 25 times 7? That's Karen's caseload. And she's a career navigator. 2 or 300, yes. And Karen does those initial, mid, and end classroom visits where she's talking about Dallas College resources, revisiting the goal setting plan. So just for clarity, the students in our program, they get an engagement coordinator that's a career navigator and a success coach from the institution. Okay. All right, you can go to the next slide. The impact of all of that over the last year has been that over 400 students have been engaged through advising visits. 98% of our CE students have completed a success plan that includes their goals. Our students that have received those class visits, there's been a 23% increase in retention compared to those that do not receive a class visit or meet with any of the engagement coordinator, our coach. Over the last year, we've had 815 students that have been identified as at risk of dropping out. We've been able to address those things and have those students, about 547 of those, retained through targeted outreach, reaching out to them, phone call, text message, and email, trying to get a hold of them, understand what might be a barrier for them and how we can address that. We achieved a 60% retention success rate with those activities. And in addition to the AO grant, we've utilized other funding sources, as I mentioned, one of those being the Texas Public Education Grant that's specifically for our CE students. We've had over 800,000 awarded in funding for that. Any questions or comments regarding advising, coaching?
On that, they put them through a video coursework. It eats up their financial aid money, but doesn't count toward the degree. I'm wondering if you guys have any.
Yeah, so the TPEG application, if we can't pay for it through AEL, to get them to that place where they're showing college ready, because we have the TSI, the Texas Success Initiative is what it's a test that is very similar to that. If we can't help them with the classes that we offer, like where they get their high school equivalency, that would help them become TSI ready, and they have to take any other additional classes, we would utilize the Texas state funding that is specifically for CE students to do that. Yeah, but a new challenge that we have is where we've just brought on a new student information system that does not necessarily work the best for CE students. So we're going to be working in two different systems. And so we have to be careful, because if they get funding through the federal government and they're taking credit classes, it could roll over into paying for their classes before we get to them. So there are things we have to keep in mind too. I think there was a question over here and then over here. Yes.
They do the initial application. My first question is, on average, how long does it take for them to run through that? And then second, is it possible to see, like, if I were to go to your website online, is it possible to see that in the application?
You wouldn't see the goal sheet, but I could see if I can upload it afterwards. I did have some challenges getting this presentation upload, but when I go back, I'll upload the presentation and that goal sheet. We've kept it very simple. It should take them no more than 10 minutes to complete. But the entire application process, it is long. So I'll be honest, that because it includes them taking a placement test. We use CASAS. That entire process can take 2 to 3 hours to complete. But it's built into that application.
Our students are able to pass the AccuPlacer, our adult education free prep classes to mediate that, so they don't have to eat their financial aid with those other courses. We call them like Math 99 or something like that. They don't have to eat up their financial aid. It could be an option if that's possible. That's what we do for those students who don't have the financial aid to earn. And my question for you is, what's the difference between a success coach and an navigator? I think you mentioned the students have two.
So we have, as an institution, we have success coaches that are advisors that are institutionally funded. And then we have our career navigators that are funded through our grant. Yes.
I kind of want to wrap my mind around what that looks like.
Yeah, it's very similar to our goal sheet. I'll see if I can upload that as well so you can have access to that. But it talks a lot about what your plans are, the time frame, what resources you have, what barriers are in might be coming up that could impede that, and then what are some action steps that you and the coach will take to help you move forward. Any other questions around? Yes. Under the grants, last year we served unduplicated that reached 12 plus hours, which counts as success for us, was about approximately 3,500 unduplicated. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Trust what kind of situation. We'll get people to sign up and they'll come for a day. And then that's where the real work begins. So is there anything like, I'm glad you're getting the plus 23% higher retention and some of these other statistics, but can you talk to us a little bit about what you're doing either once that student shows up once, maybe completes that success plan and then disappears? What are your next steps, or are they it's just attrition and you just try to get more students and hopefully those strategies work?
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. Some of it is, increasing the numbers that we're pushing through, because you're just going to get that natural fall off where students are just not going to come no matter what you're doing. But I would say the student support resources help out a ton. Letting students know that they can, once they become a student and they're in a class, that they can ask for emergency aid. They have access to a bus pass. So we try to do that information with them up front. We've introduced this year orientation sessions for our students where we're talking about that even more. So they get orientated before class starts. And then we also, as a part of the grant, have success classes before the classes begin, and they're very short in nature. So it's teaching them some digital literacy, going over those resources again, starting the process of career assessments, and those things keep the information very light. So it's less pressure on the student of this is done before. It's about like a week or two of content around just supporting them becoming a student. And we've noticed that can help increase retention when we do those things because they're now more acclimated. They know who their teachers are. They know how to find the room. And so that can be a soft launch into the program before the content becomes heavy. In the success class, we have in the syllabus, they complete something, and I'll talk more about this, Job Tomaz, which is a career assessment. They go over Dallas College resources. So their instructors walking them through how to log in to their email, to their what we call eConnect, their account to be able to see their classes, their our learning management system, Brightspace. They're also going over and learning about their proxy tools. They might not yet have access, I don't think, Monica, but they're at least learning or getting an introduction to it. And so,
I'm not gonna fall through the cracks. I can go to somebody, I can email this direct person.
yeah. So we have a couple of members from Dallas College in the room, and Priscilla is over our career navigators. Yes. Of the success, yes, of the success classes. If you're okay with me sharing the syllabus, I don't mind sharing. I got to keep a list of all the things I need to upload. Y'all are giving me more work. Yeah. Okay. All right. So the next thing that I want to talk about is career and workforce alignment. Our charge is to ensure that we're developing the next generation of Texas workers, and that they're not just getting a job, but they're getting that livable wage job. Nobody wants a job where you get it and you need another one just to be able to make it paycheck to paycheck. We want them to have that. So we do have a career and transfer office at the institution. So again, those of you that are at the community colleges or 4 institutions, partner with, oftentimes CE, non-credit, whatever you call it, is usually on an island on its own, and we're trying to do all the work by ourselves. So we've done a lot of work to partner with our career and transfer office where they have coaches that can provide students with resume support. Job placement events. We just completed one last week where there was a job placement event. And what they've done is now, instead of just one career fair every year, they offer more than one, and they're specific to the location. So we just had one in the south, in the south, for employers that are located there to really support students that live there and want to work there too. We have partnered with community-based organizations and employer partnerships. This has also been a very strong recruitment tool for us and really helpful in the question that you asked around retention. We have a couple of strong CBOs that we work with. We work with the Regional Black Association, Contractors Association, where they provide us with students that have been recently released that are interested in construction trade. And then we stand up a construction trade program that in 6 weeks, they complete that program. They get 2 or 3 certifications in construction trade. They graduate on one day, on the same day, and then they're offered an option to interview with employers that are looking to hire those with certifications in construction. And that's happening every 6 weeks. So that helps us reach those that our target for our IETs. Otherwise, doing it with each individual student, you all know, is painstaking. And so we do that with with CBOs and employer partners. Lastly, I want to give you this visual here. We have a tool called Jobtimize, and it's a career assessment that's not just, oftentimes the career assessments can be based off of just your interests, but it really takes the idea that there's no such thing as a bad job. I know you all are probably rolling your eyes. I do too. I'm like, okay, whatever. But it's not about a bad job. It's about a bad job fit. And we want the students to know what skills they're bringing to the table and what skills the job requires, and if that's going to be a good fit for them. So that's something that we've included, I think someone asked, in the success class, that they can take that assessment. And within that platform, it also can build their resume for them. Okay. All right, so general impact for our workforce and CE program at Dallas College. I just want to focus in on this area here, awarding over almost 90 high school equivalency awards. Our students, those of you that know of the grant, use the term MSGs, or measurable skills gains, where the students are either completing the hours that they need to, receiving a job, or promotion at their job. We've had almost 1,000 students be able to obtain that and be able to help themselves and also our grant, and be able to renew our grant every time we need to be able to do so. Okay, you can go to the next slide. So some things that, in summary, to wrap up the things that we've talked about, and I want to encourage you all on, is the first thing being institutional buy-in. And if you don't have like an institution, but maybe there's an advisory board that oversees the work that you do. So really increasing buy-in, not just the programs, because they've already, or maybe sometimes they haven't yet bought in, but increasing buy-in around the programs and the need to support the programs. Something that I've learned over the years is really making sure that you're tailoring to your audience. So if you're talking to the advisory board members, executive leadership, they're going to appreciate those success stories and love to have that little tear come down. Those things are great. But then also at the end of the day, they want to know, what are the outcomes? What's the return on investment? So being heavy on the data when it comes to working with them. And then when it comes to faculty, they want to know, what's the purpose? Why are we doing this? What's the day-to-day operations? Those are going to be your people that are going to ask the questions. Okay, so who's going to do this? You have this great idea. Who's going to be the one implementing this, and how? So you want to have that ready. And then your students want to know why. Why are we doing this? Why do I need to do this? So giving them the benefits. It's challenging to have our students, when they first come to us, say, it takes a lot of courage to say, I want to get my high school equivalency. And we're like, okay, great. Go do this application that's going to take you 2 to 3 hours. And they're like, yeah, I don't have that kind of time. I'm not interested. But if we can say, hey, it's going to be free to you. You're going to get all these different resources. I know that this is, validate that experience for them. I know this is time consuming, but nothing in life is free. But if we give up a little bit of time, then it allows us to be able to ensure that this program remains free to you, and we can cover all these wonderful things, and all these wonderful things will be provided to you. How to access those pathways. And then another thing is student services partnerships. So those of you that are not in an institution, or an institution that doesn't have all of these resources, what areas do you have around you? What nonprofits can you partner with or collaborate with, where there can be a win-win situation? Even something that's creative as looking at the local elementary school, and do they have some staff members that need to have some ESL classes, or want to improve their proficiency in that? They can come take classes with you all, and you're also still serving the local community, but you're not having to do that heavy reaching to recruit students. Okay. The other two, employer collaboration. Again, if you're able to collaborate with employers, not just for recruiting their workforce that they may have working with them, but also for job placement. So How can we ensure that they're coming to our career fairs, letting them know what's available to them? On the Dallas College website, we have a page where you can go in and see the entire demographic of students that we're serving. And that really helps them to be encouraged that, hey, I want to hire some of your students because I can see that you all are awarding X amount of associate's degrees or X amount of bachelor's degrees in these particular areas, and I need to hire people with these skill sets. Last would be data-driven decision making. So we talked a lot about what the strategies are, and I wanted to be intentional with giving you those strategies as well as the impact. So making sure that you go back to where you're coming from and showcasing, hey, this is what I want to do. Here's potential impact, or making sure that you are incorporating not just the qualitative data, but that quantitative information as well. Next slide. All right, so those key takeaways that we talked about: student-centered support, collaboration, flexible options, using data to adapt quickly, if at all possible. My wise husband in the room lets me know all the time, hey, if you're gonna fail fast and then get back up and try again. So using the data to be able to do that. If we know that we're doing something that's not actually working, let's make a change quickly. Our students will benefit. Aligning with workforce needs, excuse the typo there. So I want to encourage you, you all go and you work with your students, and I'm sure you give them homework. So I'm giving you homework to take one strategy that you've either heard in the room or from this presentation to think about implementing or strengthening. What are you doing right now that you're like, you know what, we could just probably do a little bit better with this. We could move some classes to be closer to the nonprofit in the community that is offering free childcare, or we can make sure there are more classes offered there. So I want to charge you with that. And then I want to hear from you, right? We talk about SMART goals and hold you accountable to that. What are some of the things you're thinking of now? Anybody brave enough to share?
Creating the goal setting, we meet every face to face, because we kind of left them out there on their own to get in, but go get them.
Yeah.
And create a special segment that then they'll buy in.
Awesome. Great. Good. In the back.
To share resources, build
Yes.
staff, services.
Yes. Yes. It's a scary time we're living in, with that being, with thinking about those things. So I'm glad that we have that muscle that we've been using of braided funding, because we may have to do it even more now. Any other thoughts going back home, which you might implement? Okay. Right. We can always use more. Now we do our success classes before the content begins. So they have a 1 or 2 week success class, and then they go into their reading and social sciences HSC class. No fee. No, it's included in the program. So our grant provides funding for staff, which includes our instruction, and our classes are zero tuition. We set it up to be zero tuition. Yes. Oh, okay. Okay.
Funding in the USD system to expand, with a monetary exchange, just different ways to have to take on an established role, more for a long time mentoring, success coaching, and starting with a journey and like mapping the.
Yes. Yes.
Ways to create meaning
Mm-hmm.
Name what?
Yeah. Awesome.
Is that?
Yeah.
Especially when things are uncertain.
Right. Awesome. You're welcome. Welcome. Okay. All right. Well, I want to thank you all so much for joining. I hope this was helpful for you to even just reflect on and you go back home with some new ideas. Thank you.